done, we can call the meeting to order at 6:07 p.m., which is slightly later than we start, but we always start a little late, so it's okay. We'll start with a territorial acknowledgement. The Board of Directors acknowledges that the University of Waterloo is on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. Our organization operates on the Haldeman Tract, land promised to the Six Nations, which includes 6 miles on each side of the Grand River. For chair remarks, I'll just say it's a pretty quiet meeting. We're kind of at I know I'm going to jinx it. We're kind of at the end of the year, so hopefully we can keep this relatively concise so people can, get home and see their families. It would be cool.
Christmas miracle.
I miss mine. Very cool. A few things to note is that I had forgotten to mention something that happened in confidential last meeting, and mention it to the public. So I will do that now. And that is that the audit recommendations from that were made were approved by the board. So that is my due diligence finally done, and it is now approved. I will say, before we go into the agenda, I do have kind of 2 amendments to the agenda that I am expecting. One is I'll talk about first, which is that we have an amendment for a confidential presentation. That is kind of all I'll say about it. It is confidential. And I guess with an amendment to that, Esther, I need 2/3 to amend. Okay. Even if it's not in, even if I'm chair and it's not in consent, right? I need the 2/3 to put it in.
So amend the agenda generally.
Okay. So we're gonna go straight to a vote on that one, and we'll add the other one. Actually, can we group them?
Yeah.
We'll group them. I'm also aware of another amendment coming forward. Katie, I've heard that you may have an amendment.
Yes, we're hoping to add the appointment of a new member of the ERC committee into the consent agenda. The amendments just in the chat, if anyone's wondering what it is be it resolved that the board of directors appoint the committee member to fill the vacancy on ERC.
And I'll say I moved for these amendments. Katie, can you second? Perfect. Okay, cool. We'll go straight to a vote. All those in favor of amending the agenda? Please. All right, there we go. That's unanimous. Okay, the agenda is considered amended. Next is our conflict of interest declarations. I am not aware of any, but are there any conflict of interest that anyone would like to declare?
Did we approve the agenda?
Oh, we do have to approve the agenda. Any objections to the agenda as amended? No. Done. Any conflicts of interest declarations? Yes, sir.
Maybe a consideration for you. I don't know. One of the changes I think is to the removal of officers, changing the percentage. Correct me if I'm wrong, Samir. I don't know if that'd be a conflict for.
Thank you. Yes, I think that would be. Yeah, it's at the very least it's a perceived conflict. So yeah, I think that's fair. What it's for? That's for your
5 point
giant. Perfect. Okay. Then I will declare conflict for that section.
Also declare a conflict for that.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Rory. Any other conflicts? No? Okay, cool. With that being said, we are moving on to consent agenda. I will once again remind people that it has been amended with the motion that Katie put in the chat. Are there any objections or things that need to be pulled out from consent? No. Okay, cool. So the consent agenda is considered passed. We'll now move on to presentations, which we have none, no unfinished business, and we get straight into the fun of it, which is new business with 5.1, cleaning up governing documents, which is from Samir. Samir, this is a big motion, and I don't know how specifically. I think we had some theories about how to handle going about this and going through it. Is there
Well,
any way you'd want to
I
handle
was
it?
thinking is I would just go through it and explain like the document, and if any questions, I could answer it.
Okay, so I guess the best way to do it would be to move the motion itself and do it through amendments if need be. Remove things, does
Sure.
that make sense? Okay, so I would need a seconder to Samir's motion. Seconded by Rem. Sorry, Katie, too slow. Okay. Samir, do you want to
Yeah, I'm just
present?
joining on this so I can screen share. Work. Okay. Bunch of changes. I'll start with board policy. This kind of cleans up a lot of items that we just don't use anymore or have changed over time. Capitalization formatting, and also updating signing authority is probably the one big actual change of like how things work now to then, and I'll explain it when we get there. General meeting to members meeting since the Anka term for it. Annual governing calendars move around slightly. We don't really do a presentation adoption. Some orgs do this if they're really busy and a bunch of people want to come talk to them of petition number stuff. We can just do presentations based off the chair, adding the work plan in.
I'm just gonna say, yeah, because I do want it like explicitly said. The way we're gonna go about this is if anyone notices anything that they want to comment on or talk about, you're free to say so, and then we'll stop and talk about it. I will think what we'll do is whenever there's something that we expect to be notable, we'll explicitly say that. The governance calendar is maybe less notable in that sense, but we like there's an expectation that if something seems more notable,
Yeah.
to bring it up. But at any point,
Yeah.
if there's anything someone wants to bring up, then
Moving audit to October for Anka. Again, members cleanup. Most of this is this is how we did it this year. Instead of the committee choosing its own chair and vice chair, the board's choosing it. It's kind of a change there. So board chooses the chair and vice chair instead of them choosing it, then it coming back to board for ratification.
wait.
Yeah.
What was it again? Sorry.
So previously, we would choose committee members.
I
So the committee itself would choose its chair and vice chair
Mhm.
instead of the board deciding that. It's kind of a change there. Grammatical error. No, there's members meeting. This is all just changing to members. There's one actual change here. This said before that we cannot release draft minutes within 14 days, which doesn't mean anything. It's now saying we must release them within 40 business days of our members meetings.
There you go.
Should be actual change. Again, we don't really have a board schedule adoption, so we can do that, or the president can just call that monthly board meeting.
Oh, so by the way, if there's anything that you think needs a rationale,
Yeah.
so, but what is that? Sorry.
So before, technically, board meetings had to go due to a schedule that we would adopt at our first board meeting. We don't really do that with what dates we're meeting. We're saying the president call it, and if board really wants, they can do a schedule. This is just,
You might want to, it might be worth amending it from president to chair, because though the president is the chair, that they'd be calling the meetings through their power as chair.
could I on friendly just make that small too, Kester?
Yeah. Is there, no one has an issue with that? Okay, perfect. See.
This kind of cleans up confidential to the way we're actually acting now. The way this is written, technically only procedural motions are in confidential. Now just saying, hey, we can vote to release confidential details. If we don't vote to it, a high level summary will still be provided for transparency to our membership. This is just updating to reflect this whole section, time tracking changes we made this year. Since cleaning up wording that we're all getting paid the same as directors.
Was there not something that you thought might be notable from this section, or is that something?
Yes, I'm gonna get to
Okay.
that. Yes. Kind of our appendix is getting in here. The big change here is that time tracking summarized reports will now be public to the membership instead of confidential among directors. That's probably one of the larger changes here. My taking of summarize, I guess would be up to interpretation, just kind of four sections within our time tracking reports and kind of summing those. Again, this isn't meant to be what directors work the most. Make sure there's kind of that baseline to a membership going on the direction we go at last annual members meetings. And I'm happy to answer any questions or thoughts on making it public.
So what specifically would be made public when it comes to like this, you're saying a summarized version of the report, and like who's doing this essentially? Who's summarizing the reports? Who's what aspects of time tracking would be made public? What does that look like?
That's just kind of up to our governance team of the exact process and the chair also to interpret this. My mind goes, there's 4 sections within the time tracking right now. Sum those 4 and just have one document linked to our website, Samir this month, those 4 numbers. Month over month. Again, I left it broad so that the chair and the governance team has some discretion on what they think is appropriate.
Hamid?
I'd just like to jump in because I think I had a little conversation with this about Samir. I do agree. I think like we obviously have our categories of how minutes go. So we would, I'm just reiterating, but sort of how I want to say it, like we would sum the entire month. So all 4 weeks together per category. So Director A spent 10 hours on, on meetings, board meetings. So that's board meetings, et cetera, et cetera. We can give examples of what that looks like. 10 hours on external committees, 5 hours on initiatives, stuff like that. And then essentially the membership just gets to see and get an idea of how much directors are spending in each category and what their general commitment is to the org. I think that's the general idea of this. Samir, please say if there's anything different to that.
Yes.
Hamid, it says you raised your hand again.
Sorry, I'm going to withdraw that.
Can I ask you a question to Esther? Has there been kind of any thought put into how essentially this would be done if it did come to play? No. Okay.
Then kind of the discretion's up to the chair and the governance team of how exactly to do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, I guess that's good actually. It's fine.
There was next one. No. There was a tiny change. It's one of these. I'm not gonna remember which one, of course. 18, yeah. If requested by the board. Some things like variance reports, we keep back and don't get public immediately just because we don't have them audited yet, and there's some numbers that mess up sometimes. Obviously, our annual budgets, our annual plans, our only plans will all remain public. There's just clarifying that if we need to hold something back or if we plan to, it would kind of be possible. I think expectation, Anka, everything that this stuff's still going public. Generally, I think Suzanne would just come to us if something, example, our variance reports kind of have some weird numbers. End of the year, hopefully after that's audited, it then goes public as actuals. But yeah. There's a tiny wording change here. This is rewording to help staff interpret it. There's a little confusion of what exactly it means, and this wording hopefully provides a little more clarity.
Apologies. Can you get into that one a little bit more?
Can Mike get into this one, please? Yeah.
I can provide some clarity. The way it's drafted, it sounds more like if there's a commitment or an obligation that has financial implications that's over a year, you need to always come to board. So this is trying to clarify that it's if there's like issues with the revenue, like future revenue projections that would probably hamper that ability to cater to that particular obligation, that is when it would come to board.
And for example, if Flock Shop had to do a 3-year contract for a food supplier, we wouldn't come to board.
Okay, so that it's just kind of like
Clarifying what the intent of that provision is.
okay. That seems fair.
This is a new policy, signing authority. Right now, bylaws are very rigid in saying for any document that is to be executed, two officers or an officer and a director must sign it. That's not realistic, especially if you consider checks as executing documents. So this clarifies that all operational documents or signatories are handled to the executive director, and that can be further delegated through a clear operational policy as which staff roles can do that. Non-operational documents have to be approved by the board and signed by a president and a vice president, such as our MOU with the university, contracts that were fees levied to students, such as a health plan or bus passes, membership WUSA in organizations such as WUSA, and I'll clarify these are non-operational, something like amicus wouldn't fall under this, and an amendment to the corporate bylaws. Anything that doesn't fall in here, it reverts back to the bylaw wording. It's just a catch-all to make sure there isn't anything that to be interpreted as not having signing authority.
I saw Lori first, actually.
We're jumping around, or we're just focusing on this section for now?
Well, I think at the end, we can do like a reset as well, like a review. Okay, it's for that then? Okay. I'll say for the signing authority, just to clarify, what this would do is that any kind of agreement that the president, like that the president and vice president are signing have to be voted on explicitly by the board.
Yes.
Okay. Would that? Okay. Non-operational documents. So what would that entail, I guess?
Our agreement with the university, plus pass. I think the non-operational is just a catch-all to make sure there's any operational memberships or agreements that are caught into it. I think if I were to name stuff in this, there's the university is our MOU with them. If we've been with the GSA, contracts, this would be our student care and our UPass. This would be WUSA and CASA, and corporate bylaws would be corporate bylaws.
Would that be, I guess there's a question to Esther, would that be considered non-operational, those things? Because it feels like everything becomes operational. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm just curious as to what this power would even apply to. Because it's also, I guess, one thing that I'd worry about is like, there's some stuff that might make sense for the president and the vice president to sign, but that this would, through that level of specificity, because that stuff is also operational. The stuff that's in that bylaw, agreements with the university and other student groups. There are a lot of agreements with the university are largely operational.
So I added non-operational really at the end, just to clarify that something like amicus is a great example, wouldn't count under this. There's probably a better way to phrase it. I really meant like, if there's an internal staff stuff that doesn't deal with this, it shouldn't come to board, like in certain cases. I think some of the university agreement, yes, it's operational, but it's also a larger piece. Like in my mind, this covers stuff going through board, and the catch-alls for any other kind of case where there's something, and again, right now it states that it's two officers or an officer and a director. And for clarity, under our corporate bylaws, the executive director is considered an officer.
Okay. Mike?
Okay. I think an important piece that he's worded in here is sort of 1.1, documents that relate to operational matters delegated by the board. So I think following that, you could take any sort of mention of operational to be like things that have been delegated to the ED, in which like the bigger governance agreement pieces sort of still sit at like board level and make sense for the like president, vice president to be the signing authorities for. Because Suzanne obviously will have other policies to outline for the pieces of like financial controls, who is a signing authority for those pieces. Thanks.
Rem? Oh, sorry, Sandra. We can hear the police, by the way.
Actually, it was a fire truck, and I was trying to
Oh, my
get in.
bad.
So if you could add me into the list, that would be great.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, well, can we go to Sandra first then? Or, yeah, Sandra, go ahead.
Thanks. The one thing I'm just following along with Mike's comment, what you need to make sure that you're matching is the delegation of authority policy. And if we don't have one, we can create one. That's not difficult to do. And Samir, that will help with some of the wording that you're struggling with right now.
I guess,
Typically,
sorry.
sorry. I was going to say,
Oh, go ahead.
typically a delegation of authority policy will look at things like longevity of a contract value, and I'm using contract small c. So that's the other background document that you have, because you are delegating responsibility and accountability to the ED. And so you don't want to be making things that are going to be in contravention of that delegation.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, Sandra, totally agree there. I think board policy 17 or 18, I think, our operational delegation should be read in tandem with this. That where operational matters delivered by the board is board policy 18. In my mind, where we define again limits on numbers, all that stuff, length, the contract, that's all defined within that policy. But I think that's a really good thing. And what Mike said again about that reading here, yeah. I hope you see at least what I'm trying to go for. I get the exact wording issue there. If anyone has better wording, I'm more than happy to make an amendment.
Go ahead, yeah.
If we agree on the interpretation that by non-operational, we mean operations that are not delegated, can we say something like non-delegated? Is that allowed? Does that work?
I guess I have a question on that. It's like, I guess it's a question of what was intended really, because I see in 4 things that are specifically laid out. Agreements with the university on its contracts around services, blah, 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 right? Is that all encompassing, or is that examples? Because if it's all encompassing, then you could get rid of non-operational and gets rid of the weird, because they're all operational and you've got like a contradiction. Or is this kind of like, these are the types of things, these high level documents. And so like
The current wording was just these 4, because my brain was just anything else, we have 3 to fall back on. It was just the following, so it was in my mind just these 4. Again, maybe they could be examples in my mind. If there is something, we fall back to 3, and that's just 2 officers in the bylaws.
then maybe we just get rid of non-operational. Because it's specific, it specifies like that at that point, like I don't everything is operational.
That's, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, yes.
And I think that's the challenge to try and create this clarity is I'm not sure that we're there yet with this. And that's I know you and I talked about this too. Like, I think there still needs to be maybe some thought about wording, and I don't know if there's the delegation of authority policy might help clarify what you're trying to accomplish with this, which I get what you're trying to do, but I'm not sure that it gets where you want it to go, because I'm not sure it's really clear. Because to the university that are operational, that wouldn't even come to board to get approved.
So I read through board policy 18 when I was making this, and a lot of the stuff I think because actually are defined in there. Stuff like I think staff management was in there, which you say amicus, that's part of staff relationship and management. So I do think a lot of the stuff falls under there, and that's why I think I worded it that way. And as Sandra pointed out, we read in tandem. I see the concerns here, and like I rather not bring motions in January and February, but if board really wants, we could table this section. I think like if we're all agreed on the interpretation here, I don't really see a problem. And maybe rid of no operational or not, like, and there always is going to be a gray line sometimes in what is exactly operational and what is the board level. There's somewhat gray line. We obviously try to minimize that in our things, but I honestly don't think you can word it to exactly cover every edge case. And there is gonna need to be some, I think it's common sense and use those situations between the ED and the officers on the board of what's appropriate, what's not, and having a strong communication way. Like I don't think you can perfectly define it. Yeah.
Can I just check? I saw Sandra unmuted. Is it Sandra? Did you unmute because you wanted to say something, or?
No, sorry, I meant to mute again.
Okay, no worries. Suzanne, go
I
ahead.
was just wondering whether it might make sense, and I'm sorry to suggest to table it, but like to sit down and try and think of all of the different scenarios of things that we sign. Like there's contracts for staff. Is that coming to work, like, or am I okay but that would be sort of an agreement with the university and actually contracts on service, depending on how you look at it. I mean, again, there's
That's fair. Like in my mind, if you go to board policy 18, I think we delegate all staff stuff. So like that would fall under that in my mind. But again, if board wants and Damien okay with it, table it.
I mean, I guess it's just like, I think we should try and figure out exactly what the goal of this is, because in my head, right,
Yeah.
the way I see it is what this is trying to do is clarify that in 90% of the cases, right, like it's fine for it to go through the ED, right? But it seems like what the goal here is there should be some clarity, because one, current bylaws make it all very weird around who's actually supposed to be signing this stuff. And two, you probably do want some stuff that's like the president and VP are the ones who sign it, right? And so maybe the best way to look at it would be that like things that are delegated, like the signatories, and like this is not wording itself, but like a spirit of it is usually like it would go to the executive director or the delegate to be through operational policy to be the signatories, except in specific cases, even specifically out, because other like me and Rem rarely sign like official documents. So really like what you'd be looking for is finding out where they should be, right? I think it's maybe better to think of it like that instead of setting like a super broad, like that feels like the right way to do it, right? This feels like it's doing two things at the same time.
It kind of is, and the way I got to these four is also historically and it's hard because obviously historically the president has been CEO in past cases on looking at documents. These were the kind of the four groups. If you look at our university MAU, it is the president. And look around services, it would normally be the VP for president. WUSA, I think, requires it to be officers, if I remember WUSA bylaws correctly, and ONCA requires our bylaws to be officers signing it. So that's how I kind of got to this list. And I see what you mean. Also, like, I still honestly think that there's some common sense piece of being able to have that discussion. Like, and I think like board fully understands staff matters under the ED. We've delegated that, and that allows all coverage there. Like, if you've suggested to table or how to be word or do whatnot, like I'll leave it up to you, Damien.
I mean, I think I agree to table it. I don't think there's a rush here. I don't think it needs to, like, I understand what specifically you're trying to avoid, and I respect that. It just, I think like it's not gonna until like the AM, it's not gonna come up, right? And so like it's not going to really. So I think it's fine to table it and to like discuss it. I think with an understanding of like either like try and figure out, are you digging out space for like the president and VP and like everything else would be kind of that, or are you trying to find out what specifically you're giving up, delegating to ED and work from that? Because right now it feels like you're digging and filling at the same time.
Yes. Look, my bid went again 90% operations. There's a few cases when it's officer. The rest we have bylaws to do it. Like I'm happy if you're okay with coming in January and February to table this, and the third be resolve clause was related to this. I'm happy to motion to table.
I think it should
the next meeting.
Yeah. I see. Rory.
I just wanted to note, I don't know, I feel like someone had mentioned it needing to be ready for AMM, but it's my understanding that.
So the bylaw section, yes, but
Yeah,
I think the bylaw section is so broad when we get to that, like there should be a problem passing even that changes the bylaw. Like the only things the bylaw gives the board the ability to delegate the signing authority. So I think we can still pass that section. Policy, we can do that.
So I don't think there's a rush.
I'll motion to table section 22 and the third be resolved clause to the January board meeting.
Well, specifically, this is an amendment. I just remove it and I.
Okay.
Again.
I'll motion to remove this section and the third be resolved clause.
Second, any against, any opposed to removing? No. Okay, perfect.
Only last thing, and trying to be quick, mindful of time. We have added in the time tracking system which was prepared before. This is a previous document we've seen, how it works, as a appendix to the board policy. Again, the 4 sections are right here, kind of explains how it works. This is the old document, we're just adding it here. And then if I go to the bylaw, again, try to be.
Oh, is this for, okay, here we go, yeah.
Try the editing made it weird there. Redefining something, so it goes there. Non-officer director, we clarified, we kind of split it out here. You'll see it throughout why we did that. Basic number changing. So right now, the legal election of the board is at AGM. And we don't do a secret ballot at AGM for the ratification process. So that's where we're getting rid of this. The normal election process we used beforehand, like the ballot one, is still secret as our election procedure. And clarifying membership of the board. This is clarifying that if a non-officer director is full representative of the faculty, we will fill them with the same faculty, make sure faculty representative maintains if someone is removed, resigns from board.
I don't know. Okay. I have a question. Does this also, if there is no one who runs for a faculty, right? Because this is about the faculty guarantee essentially, right? If there's no one who runs in a faculty.
If there's more than one candidate nominated to fill the vacancy. That's your catch-all. If there's a candidate from the faculty, it has to be the person from the faculty. If there are no candidates from the same faculty, it'd be filled the candidate with the most votes, regardless of associated faculty.
Wait, I'm so confused. This is about removal though.
Removal here and vacancies here. The next to it. Basically, right now, if there is a vacancy,
Yes.
it is the same faculty.
Okay.
Oh.
Again, it's only applies if you're the only person for that faculty. We're just making sure it's the same among these two.
Okay. Okay. I understand now.
And then this line covers if there's no one that runs from the faculty, anyone can fill it.
Okay. That makes sense. Got it.
Yeah. We're clarifying that our general elections before the AGM, but we are ratifying in our legal election is at the AGM, and just adding the second line to like, normally we should not be withholding that ratification. Same thing here. This section was here, and this kind of has a lot of cascading effects throughout the documents, where board during its first meeting would decide the president and vice president from among its members and do schedule of dates for presentations and meetings. We don't do that. So there's no point to saying there is a meeting right after the annual meeting. Again, just number changing. Clarifying that board may delegate the power to establish policy rules and regulations to the executive director, which we do for operational policies. It's just clarifying that board does have that power.
Would this be just because are these okay? Because would this also be interpreted as being able to delegate the power to assign to also establish regular policies, like governance policies as well?
So I think the board was clear that we only delegated the ED to be able to make corporate operational policies. Like in our board policy, we made clear what could happen there. I was more broad, but in our board policy, we made it clear that only operational policies can be established by the executive director.
Then he uses the word may, so it's not like mandatory that. So it's may delegate, and then in the, like he's saying, in the policy manual, it's clear that what's the extent to which board has delegated that power.
What is the point in adding this?
It was just to clarify, because there is a reading right now that only board can make policy rules and regulations. It's purely to clarify.
I don't know, because explicitly saying may delegate this power, it feels like all we're saying is that now we can the board explicitly has a power. Like if they just 50% get rid of the policy that's like the board policy that they can only do, because that's board policies.
So with the majority of board, you could get rid of the entirety of operational delegation. There's a lot you can do with majority of board policy.
Yes, but you probably shouldn't be able to give away, to delegate your power over board policy. Like that probably
No,
shouldn't be.
Damien.
Yeah.
Damien, sorry for jumping in. You're absolutely on a right path. You will delegate the ability to create operational policies to the executive director because they have to run the day-to-day operation. So this is where the delegation of authority policy will help with that clarification. Board policy cannot be delegated to anybody.
Right. In my head, that makes sense, but it looks like, because this is a bylaw, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Would this not also now allow the board to delegate its own board policy power? Because
No,
this is.
no, you wouldn't. It should be just as general. I'm sorry I don't have it in front of me, but the bylaw change should just be that the board has the ability to delegate the creation of operational policies to the executive director.
So, Sandra, right now I'm looking at the section. It says the board may establish policy, rules, and regulations affecting the organization affairs of the corporation. I just added the board may delegate this power to the executive director.
As long as it's tying it, Samir, and it sounds like it is, to the operational piece, then that's absolutely fine.
So it's being tied to that in policy, not in bylaws.
Yeah, but the
Right.
bylaws.
So how about this?
Yeah.
Board may delegate this. We're not trying to mentally word things. The board may delegate the power for operate. You wording?
I kind of feel like we should just remove it. It feels like unnecessary. And it's like the board can always, like, I don't think there's anything that's barring the board from delegating the power. It feels like this overly, in many, it kind of sounds like it gives it more power than.
That's not what I was
delegation.
intending.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's the wording thing here, right?
I'm happy to remove it as long as we're on same understand like. Okay, I was trying to clarify, but if you think that if we're still ending up in the same place, sure.
Yeah.
I'm happy to.
I think Samir, I think we can end up in the same place with the delegation of authority policy.
Yeah. So happy I'm happy if you're kid friendly, just to get rid of this.
Yeah, 90% of what's here is just clarifying. I think this one just is.
Yeah, let's throw that.
Sandra Hanmer
is now exiting.
There we go. Okay. With that, any objections to kind of, I guess I'll move to remove that section. There you go. Any objections? It was seconded by Samir, obviously. Okay.
We do not ratify officers at the first meeting of board. This is again, a legacy from when originally officers were going to come from the board. We're only filling the ED if there is no ED position. Yeah. This merges secretary kind of into the ED. Again, this is if board really wants, they can have a separate person. Unless we specify, it'll just be the executive director. There are some interpretations of like having them as an official officer separately, so that's why it's kind of under the ED here. With us now having 3 elected officers, it's going from president to holding the office of an elected officer. For the holding more than one office thing. For removal from office, this was an AGM motion from Nick last year, instructing us to instruct the lawyers to change it. I have made modifications since then after consulting with Esther of what ONCA required us to do. Right now, it is a 2/3 majority to remove the executive director and a simple majority to remove any other officer. This now makes it a 2/3 majority for any officer. It says legal counsel must be at a meeting when officer is being removed, and that no officer may chair a meeting at which any officer is being removed. Instead of may, they must attend the meeting. If an elected officer is removed, immediately they lose their duties and powers. A special members meeting will be called to ratify the removal. This will remove them as a director of the corporation. If it is not upheld by the members, they will regain their officer duties and powers. The reason is under ONCA, only the members can remove a director.
Rory?
Jump up to 9.9, the holding more than one office, which we just passed. I'm curious as to the reading, and I'm just curious as to other people feel the same way. Reading this, it feels weird in the way that it says, except for the holder of an office, they can hold more than one position. I'm just curious how this plays into, like, if we're saying an elected officer, does that basically mean an unelected officer can run for multiple positions?
So the only unelected officer we have is the ED, well, secretary too, but that's gone now.
So then maybe this,
Yeah.
maybe this is more a broad question of like, how does this play into ERC with the fact that it literally says in our bylaws, unless you're an elected officer, you can run for multiple positions.
But
At least that's my,
all the positions are elected.
but under our ERC policy, we say you can only run for one position.
Correct. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, because bylaws are above that.
Yeah, except for holding the office of an elected officer, person may nominated holding more than one, so they can still run for one, huh?
But what if it, what if
What they run for?
if they want to run for multiple? Because it's only
So in
only
one-
office.
Does ERC not stop that? I thought ERC,
Okay,
Yes, she's a.
ERC, so ERC,
This contradicts ERC that.
I don't think it does contradict ERC. ERC,
Mike has his hand up right now.
Yeah.
So
Mike, go ahead.
To use a phrase, we might be getting lost in the sauce. So I read this as except for holding the office of an elected officer, so not including the elected officers, a person may be nominated or selected for, elected or appointed to, and hold more than one office. As we'll move down, I think there's another, one of the other sort of debatable topics is appointment to a vacant officer position later on. And a piece of that sort of suggested new wording is that board will pick from the elected directors. So like the office of at-large director is an office. You're not an officer, but you hold the office of that position. So I think it is inviting those people to be nominated or selected for appointment to an officer position if it so needs to happen. That is sort of the only case that I can think of that this would matter, like, for that case. So the first piece of this phrase is excluding the elected officers. And then the rest of it says a person may be nominated or selected to hold more than one office. So it would be their director office and their officer office if they were appointed to it. Thanks.
Mayor?
so the way I read this, if we look at what section we're in 9 defines the officer. By officer, I mean the president, vice presidents, the appointed officer, the ED. Like this isn't talking about directors, it's talking about just our officers. And what this means is technically, and if there are any other non-elected officers, not saying there is, but there should be, if there ever is any non-elected officers, for some reason, they could hold multiple of them.
I see. Can I ask that? Is this kind of like in the sense that the ED is also the secretary? And so that's what you're saying? Okay, because it's not.
Because right now the ED tends those two offices, the secretary and the ED.
I
Yes, we're merging into one, but if there were other offices in the future, the ED could hold multiple, or if there's anything else.
I understand a little bit better now. Rory had his hand up first. I don't know if he put it down though. Rem?
I feel like it would be clearer if we say officer that's not elected instead of not elected officer.
Wait, where do you see that?
Give wording.
Um,
How about this? A person may be nominated or selected for, elected or appointed to, and hold more than an office if they are not an elected officer of the corporation.
no, sorry,
Well,
more than
My
bad.
elected officer position. No, I give up.
good effort. I felt like
A person may be nominated or selected for blah, 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 or more than an office unless they are an elected officer defined in 9.01.
No, you.
A.
Whatever. no,
I put
it's
1A.
fine, It's fine. I get what you're saying.
I actually think his wording is very good. I quite like his wording. Did you have a, okay,
Can I move that?
your motion, buddy? Yeah. Seconder? Seconder to,
What's the most?
you might want to write the wording down.
Write down the
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm right on my phone because I'm screen sharing. Board chat.
By the way, I'm trying to keep my eye on the screen over here. So if I'm looking this way, you can still put your hand up and I'll see it.
Hold
That
more
clear for those online.
than one office. I'm already forgetting my wording. Unless they are an elected officer as defined in 9.1A. I'll just dot that. Oops, that's board chat. Close enough. You guys can go to board chat. And cross out the first section. Don't make these changes. I'm doing proper English, guys.
Okay, does everyone understand the amendment that's on hand here? See a thumbs up from Katie. I appreciate the thumbs up. Okay, thank you, Mon. Okay, cool. Okay, it seems like there's understanding. Can I get a seconder? Thank Kate, seconded by Katie. Any opposed to the amendment? I'm seeing none. Considered amended. Perfect.
Let's keep going. Right now, this technically says that after AMM, everyone's kicked off a committee. So we're saying now board can decide how long the term is for committee membership instead of them auto getting kicked off after AMM.
Hilarious. I mean,
Yes, Damien.
I'm so sorry. It feels like maybe a previous board should not be able to determine the committee membership of a next board.
Next board could just remove people also. Like last board passed the budget. Like new board can always overtake a decision of a previous board. You could argue that for a lot of cases. The board could pass a motion saying we're going to do X next year and the X people are on X committee.
This is correct, but it is also maybe not a good look to kick someone off of a committee as opposed to consider whether or not to reappoint. Sorry, Brent.
can we just say end of the governance year instead of until the.
What if it's the ad hoc that ends early? Just waiting for a term less than the governing year.
Yes.
To add to what she said, they said amounts end of the governing year, you could say, or as determined by the terms of reference, because if it's ad hoc, it will state when it would typically.
You could then argue as Damien the terms of reference say they're only for 3 years. Like the same problem exists. Like, because Damien's arguing that a previous board could set the terms for a committee to be multiple years and new boards in an awkward place. Technically, the terms of reference can make it a multi-year committee. So the same problem exists with that wording. I think Damien got trust for. No.
You could say, but not longer than the current governing year and then call it a day.
Where?
Determined by, I shall serve for a term determined by the board or executive committee, but not longer than the current governing year. Not lasting longer than the current governing year.
Determined by the board's activity not lasting more than a governing year, if any, whatever you said. Put it in chat.
All right, I'll write it down.
Yeah. Only reason I put the executive committee thing is it's in the rest of these. And we're not having executive committee right now. So I just messed it. Fair point, Damien, but yeah.
There we go. It's my suggestion.
Which would go right here, right?
That's correct.
The reader would be a member of a committee shall serve for a term determined by the board or executive committee.
But not lasting.
If any.
If any, yeah. If any, but not lasting, past the current, governing year.
And is eligible to be important for one or more additional terms.
Can I get a seconder for that amendment? Seconded by Rem. Any objections? No. Yes? Okay, I'm gonna consider that objection. Go ahead.
But executive committee, oh, that's not all of these. Executive committee, if any. I'm just copying the word into the rest. It means if there's executive.
Oh, okay.
Considered passed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think many changes here. Yeah, execution of documents, no longer of a secretary. By the president or vice president. That should be in bracket. Pretend that's in brackets. I unfriendly put this in brackets, Damien. This S in brackets.
Yeah. That's a minor stuff like that.
Yeah.
Minor stuff.
Yeah. Board may appoint any officer, staff position, or any person to sign documents during the time, and any appointed signing authorities may only delegate the ability officially allowed by the board, the position decided by the board. Like, for example, we're saying we're only delegating operational documents. We will touch the policy later. It's just laying out that we clearly can delegate it. Again, numbers change. That is all. And apparently we're getting rid of Nick and Aria. I don't know. That should be all. Any questions on this or the previous document? This took so much time, guys, please.
Jumping back to the policy. Number 9. My question is, when we are.
What's number 9?
Policy number 9, yes. 2.2, my favorite. When we're looking at board honoraria, and sort of making it a fixed monthly amount.
Hold a sec. There you go.
Yeah.
So under 2.2, wanting to make it the same monthly as fixed by resolution by the board, but more particular to make it so that it doesn't differ between directors based on hours worked. I guess my question is like, are you allowing them to then vary it based on other factors?
Hopefully not. I just wanted to explicitly say we're not differing honoraria.
So
it's an explicit no.
I think we've had a conversation in the past about why this might make sense that I would do.
For sure. I recognize that fact. It's just more like the way that it's written now in my mind makes it feel like then board can change it for other reasons. And then if they are going to change it by other reasons, then we don't say what those reasons are.
I think that's why I changed from base to monthly. I changed that as well. And so it isn't like base and there's additional stuff. I want to be very clear that they are not varied. I guess we get rid of that line again. Let's see what Esther thinks.
You can end the sentence at shall not differ between directors. So that it's.
Oh,
And then.
beauty. Just kill this part.
Does that solve the?
My other question is going to be is should it? So we're just taking the opinion that it shouldn't vary based on directors. But I think based on the previous wording that was in there was previously discussions around whether it should change based on chair involvement or not. And I think there's also a piece to be had of like, though we have set the very baseline that now exists for director time tracking and things like that, my question is there ever going to be a case where potentially like someone is acting so egregiously or so in dereliction of their duties as a board member that we might want to decide as a board collective to say, you know, maybe smarten up and we're not going to pay you the full amount for this month is a question that I guess I will pose to board.
I will pose if they're that bad, board responsibility to call an annual members meeting to remove them. If they're that bad, dereliction of their duties. I would also say that there are other parts of here of, again, a failure to submit or something like that, potential actions determined by board, including suspension of honoraria for the end of the year. I would also say, and I don't love this logic, but I'll say it anyway. If there's an egregious case, or can also suspend board policy and just be like, we're not paying you. Not that should happen.
But I would say like, we don't, in my mind, I'd want that to be generally more clear in the before we just go, oh, like out of nowhere, like this, we're suspending policy and also you're not getting honoraria.
I think I would agree with the fact that we have had a conversation in the past around probably it doesn't make sense to, it might not make sense to do like, you know, oh, you get this percent based on this much or whatever. But there is a conversation, and it's happened in the past about sometimes things work in such a way where you don't get the honorary at all. And like that in kind of looks like would not be possible with this policy. And I would agree that we should not have a policy that sounds like you're fine no matter what. Be even like it would probably not be responsible for a board to overturn what is current policy, even also negatively affect one of the directors based off of them contravening a policy that did not exist in the past.
So we've made it clear as a board that the number of hours worked does not impact your honoraria. We expect you to 20 to 40, but if you do less than that, there will be no negative repercussions. We have made that clear as a board. You can submit an hour in your report. That has been at least my view of this board this year, and not to get too confidential, but we've had talks. Well, I would say under that lens, there shouldn't be any, and if there's no report, then you have the other mechanisms. If you want to talk about if a chair's get extra, I would say bring someone, another, like maybe Jan meeting in February, bring an amendment to allow whatever scale thing you think. I'd rather we not do it. That's up to the chair, but I'd rather we not do a whole reconstruction of this on the floor.
I would note he is right about the fact that we don't currently have a way we don't currently have a strategy on how to impact that. Right now, it's kind of discretion of the chair and president is kind of like how it's been handled in the past. Could make sense that you have a real discussion and then you change the policy. That could make sense. But this kind of sets the status quo as until it's changed, it's the same. Sorry, Lori, go ahead.
I would say, like, from my understanding, and maybe you can answer more confidential later, like this year, the status quo has been there will be, unless you know submit the report, you will be paid.
Yes, but put my finger up as if you're gonna give it to me. Would this not kind of override that in many ways? Because there's such thing they cannot differ. Right
now, in my reading of this, the president does not have the ability to make it differ. The board can make it differ. The board can pass a motion saying there's action for this, but we're just saying the board can't do something anymore. Like this year, and from my understanding, there's never been a motion by board saying you will be paid extra or you will be paid less based on a certain thing, less no submission. So my status quo is you do this, you pass this amendment. If someone wants to bring forward a measure in the future of where the level is, sure, but this is keeping the status quo because we haven't used that ability.
I understand. Okay, go ahead.
Just because we have a reasonability as board doesn't mean it's the same thing as further restricting our ability to use it in the future, and recognizing the fact that in the future they are then going to have to change this policy and then use the ability that they want to exercise. Like I don't think it's that's all practice.
I'm gonna give it to Mike first, if that's okay. Mike, go ahead.
My understanding is mainly that this is to call out that it should not differ on hours worked. You're not completely canceling out the responsibility level. So if that is something they want to have a conversation about in the future, you could. But this is mainly factoring in the legal advice of we should not pay people hourly rates, which is the discussion had earlier in the year. And I think it sort of satisfies that condition. But as it stands right now, your board has decided fixed amounts, and that is reflective of everyone. And if somebody wants to change it in the future, you could allow that to be their prerogative.
Yeah, Samir first and then the board.
So some agree with that. And also this policy says that we can't change an adjustment till the year after. So I don't know if board even right now could say, okay, one person's less, or we're making the stipulation to get it. Nothing comes into effect until the governing year turnover. So I actually would disagree and say we don't have that power right now. And saying again, if a director feels that there is a real need to have this mechanism, bring forward amendment at a future board meeting. I would say that this hasn't been used in the history of WUSA that I'm aware of once. that any further thing other than not submitting a report, which is clearly we allow down here. I think if you do think there is some special mechanism where we need to do it, hasn't been used in the past, so draft Fifth Amendment at the January or February board meeting.
So I guess to follow up on a few of those pieces, in my mind and in conversation with other board members, the piece around adjustments to directors honoraria is probably more referring to the plural of what is the honoraria that is received by all directors, and that it changes year by year based on the factors that are noted in the actual policy itself, mainly inflation and some other potential adjustments. My other piece is just going to be along the lines of like, now I'm getting to the piece of like, with what Michael was saying around the current wording, like not amended, like in my mind, then that does still leave it open for the board to say, okay, maybe we won't base it off of hours, but we will base it off of some other thing like participation or engagement or something along those lines. And if you change it to just shall not differ, then I bring up my same point of just, I don't think that's best practice, because there could be situations, though not used so far, there have been times in the past where a board member has not received their honoraria. And so there might be a position in the future where either they're not going to receive their honoraria, or maybe a board would like to be nice, and instead of not giving them their honoraria, they could choose some number between their full honoraria and no honoraria.
So because it kind of seems like we're kind of making the same arguments. Like what you,
I'm confused because originally you were saying
that's why I'm talking now. Because I feel like there's a level of confusion here. I guess I'll kind of look to Esther on some clarifications here. This motion as currently passed would not negate the ability that the parts of other policies to set requirements. Like this would not get rid of the ability for no payment to a director if they don't submit their reports. That's correct?
Already,
Yeah, that's okay. So that
it doesn't negate.
yes, because it does say it shall not differ, and in this sense, they are differing, right? So because 0 versus full, that is a difference, right? So I just want to clarify that because in another place we explicitly say they will differ in this sense, that's still okay? Because it feels like, I mean, one policy, I guess, is not above the other. Is this to help clarify? Will this help clarify?
I feel like if you go down, it's kind of like clarifies what this amendment is saying. Like, so fine, the first part, the Samira's amendment is saying that it shall not be different. The pay would not be based on the hours worked.
Mhm.
So if everybody works varying hours, you're getting the same thing. But 7.3, or the new 7.4 now, 7.3 essentially says that if you're not submitting your reports, like you have 0 hours, then board can decide to withhold your payment. So I feel like it.
That one would come above the other one, essentially.
Yes.
Motion to amend 2.2, change it from shall to may. And that should alleviate our problems. It'll now read all other directors may receive the same honoraria stipend as fixed by resolution by the board and shall not differ between directors based on hours worked.
I'm gonna just go, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense.
More discussion. It's really selling.
I mean, are there any seconders, I guess? Do you want to explain?
My rationale is then that opens it up to, like they may receive the same amount. It also, and that if they don't follow within now section 7, that they won't. I'm just trying to get that language in there if that's what we're recognizing as a problem.
So in my mind, the amount said it's being withheld. We're not changing the amount. Their amount is being withheld from them. The wording that's clear is saying,
I don't think so. I think
Taylor Smith, the withholding of the director's stipend.
but if it's a you shall get X and then a different part of the policy says you will not get X.
How about this? A special resolutions to the board pursuant to, what do we, 9.7. Just here, and this add pursuant to policy 9.7.
Okay. Enough, unless otherwise specified. Can we just leave it there? Like in policy, like it makes it very clear that this is like the bottom of the barrel, unless we specify otherwise. Correct, like that's totally, that hits everything.
My problem with that is then we can specify someone else that we can differ pay. You can specify somewhere else. What I'm saying clearly is it's only 7.7.
No, if the board passes that, then I guess the board passes that.
Okay. Shall receive the same monthly stipends as fixed by resolutions of the board unless otherwise specified in policy, and shall not differ between directors based on hours worked. Hallelujah. Can I get a seconder? Thank you. Seconded by Rory. Okay. Any opposed? No. Mike, can someone, Rory's got it. Mike,
Quickly, unamended.
did you catch that amendment?
It should be good.
Okay, let's see what they come back then.
Okay,
Now there always one, can I amend that real quick?
no. There we go. We're all good. I think that's solid. Let's move on.
That was all, unless anyone else has a question. I think, Mike, you had a grammatical question, you put a board chat, and if any other directors have things on either of these two documents, I apologize for taking so much time on this one large document.
Okay, I'm not seeing any more comments.
Mike, don't have one? Oh, okay. Let me find where in this we are. That's English as well. And hold, so it was basically just, did you see my screen share? So it's coming after this and then it's removing the chain. It's just saying, basically cross out this whole thing. So a person may be nominated or selected for, elected, appointed, and hold more than one office. And then what I said. So unless they are elected. Yes, this section's also gone. I just didn't know to cross out on my phone.
Okay, yeah, now that that's understood, I guess we can move on to the final vote.
I think it's 2/3 of the mixed bylaw changes.
Okay, well, 1, 2, 3, we're 7? That essentially, that's 5, 4? Is it 4 or 5 in this case? I don't know if we round up or down.
Oh, you're always over 2/3.
So 5, 5. Yeah, we'll have to wait for Rory. Okay, we have quorum. All those in, wait, let me make sure, because we're missing someone. Muhammad in the call? I'm in.
This is +2.
Okay, perfect. All right. Can't see him here, but I assume he's on the call. All right, cool. We'll go to the final vote on the motion then. All those in favor of the motion as amended? That is, I can't tell if there's any other hands up in the +2s. Mike, can you see the, we can't see everybody because of the screen share, so the top of the list. Okay. All right, all those, I'll just ask, all those abstaining?
Someone raise your hand.
I just wanted Katie.
It said
+1.
Can the person who abstained, can you raise and unraise your hand? Or just talk with him, American?
All those,
yeah.
okay. All those against? Perfect. Motion passes. Okay. And also just want to say, I'm well aware of how much work went into this motion. I know we got stuck on some of it, but like 90% of it passed without any conversation. I know there's a lot that you were working on with the governance team on this, so do appreciate how much went into this. So well done and thank you. And I guess we'll move on to the next piece, which is
Another bylaw change.
Yes, and this is the one that was pulled out because I thought it was notable in that sense. We'll go to
Second.
5.2. You need a seconder from the start? Okay, yeah. Can I get a seconder for this motion? Seconded by Aman.
Okay, I will go. I have too many docs open. Oh, one offset. Maybe, okay, so I tend to make an amendment because the floor version is wrong. I'm adding this section, ignore the rest of this. I'm adding, this here. Appointment of the president or vice president among the newly elected. By 2/3 vote and to be ratified at the annual meeting, also added, yes, yeah, be ratified at the annual members meeting.
Just want to clarify, there's context, but like historical context, but on this motion, that is not confidential. Is that correct? Yeah. Can we get into the historical context?
Sure. So, during last governing year, no one ran for vice president. So the incoming board, by a straw poll, decided who of the other two presidential candidates were not successful to make VP. And that vote ended up with Aria being selected, and Aria was ratified at the meeting. Technically for them, it was actually a simple majority they needed. We're making it 2/3 in this example. It isn't saying again, after just to clarify it, we're gonna try and get a by-election if no one wants to be officer, maybe interim if they can. Worst case, we appoint someone, but they're not, they don't have to be a member, and they don't have a vote like a member.
Okay. Iman, would you like to use your power as seconder or?
No,
Okay.
it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, so I should just note that essentially what this would do is instead of being able to immediately go to one of the other candidates, you'd have to first see if you can pick between the directors that were elected. Is that correct? That's the notable thing on this. I will say I did not get any comments from any of the other oh, I did. I got some commentary from because I was thinking of the other person who I would have expected commentary, but I didn't get from them. I did get some commentary on this that I would talk about here. But before we get to that, does anyone have their own commentary that they'd like to make on this or discussion? No, okay. So I will say that we did get some comments from one of the directors that was not able to make it today. Considering they had a solid reason for not being able to make it, we've had a conversation with them to see what their comments were. I thought I'd give them here. So these comments are from Skylar. Essentially, he had some concerns about specifically 9.2, I suppose, would be 9.C.2, where it does not clarify what threshold it would need to be for the votes. I'll hold off on opening it for now. Apologies. He had an issue with the fact that there was no clarification on the thresholds, the voting threshold for appointing in the interim, which I would agree with. He preferred unanimous vote. That was, yeah, I'll just say what he cares about before we prefer, and then we'll have a discussion. I actually do believe that's all I got from him after my discussion on specific issues.
And I moved this amendment by adding by a 2/3 vote.
Rem did have their hand up first.
I mean, I was just gonna say it makes sense to do 2/3 so that it's the same as the previous section.
Can we get a seconder for that?
I'll second it.
I'm out of here as well, just to make sure it's clear.
Not usually I would do it, but I'll take it. Usually you spell vote with an O instead of a P too.
Yeah.
By the way. There you go. Okay.
Jamie, did you see that reel I sent you the other day?
Rem. Okay. Do we have any issues with that? So I will note that Skylar preferred, I should say Skylar preferred unanimous. I would say, I would probably agree that 2/3 makes a lot more sense than unanimous. Unanimous usually doesn't make sense and can hold a corporation from moving forward. I like 2/3.
I don't kind of reword this, but I just don't like how we just say 2/3 majority throughout in a different language. It's probably a better way to word this, but I don't have.
That specific wording like that, I imagine can be fixed, like for like consistency's sake.
Yeah.
Any comments on this? That amendment? Okay, so no objections to the amendment. Okay, that specific amendment is passed. Now back to the conversation as a whole on how do people feel about this level of escalation where you first pick from the elected directors, and so that would set elected directors above in precedence than the other candidates. Go ahead.
My only question is going to be is like, what is the timeline going to look like to hold a by-election? And is there going to be enough time after the first election to be able to get someone into position before the start of the next term?
I think that's why you have the interim candidate here, the interim role. And you kind of have the other interim here. You have two different interim options to have the interim candidate if we can't do it and run a by-election late. Only thing is if we did have to run a by-election, we'll call a special members meeting to ratify them since they are a member of the corporation, since it would be a director of the corporation.
It's also the board may call a by-election. So
Well-
I mean,
Will? You think it should be will?
no, I'm saying it is May, which leaves open like discretion to the board to see, oh, we have like a month left in the year. We don't need to do a by-election. Or to leave the details of the by-election up to the board or ERC.
I guess I should note, and that's not really for this meeting, but it might be worthwhile for in the future, not for today, to determine some metrics on win or win not. But I think for like a solid current stance is discretion. But it's kind of a note for the future that it may be worth looking into that in the future to figure out when it makes sense for a by-election, when it doesn't. But
I'll also note future boards may want to set a process for if a officer resigns. That's not covered. That's maybe something they want to do one day too.
really, okay.
Oh, right, this is, right, no candidate runs.
Yeah. Any other comments on this? Okay, I guess I was wrong about what would be more controversial.
You're right. You can correct my spelling though.
I did a great job of that, I think. Okay, perfect. Well, with that being said, I guess we'll go straight to a vote then on it. All those in favor of the motion as amended? All those abstaining? All those against? Okay, on that note, we'll,
Wait, can you two vote on this?
I guess it was I called it a perceived one.
Proceed.
I
That was previous.
I should have, in fairness, what I should have done was ask the board if they feel like it's worthwhile that it is, I do not vote and or chair, and that is my bad. I did not do that. If anyone feels like we should have a revote on it, like that's fair. Yeah, I see Roy scheming. Okay. Apologies, that is my bad. Thank you, Samir. Okay, with that being said, I think we won't be taking, I prefer not to take a break because I think we can get this meeting done relatively quick. I will give us a second to kind of give the food out, which will be take.
Someone muted the room. Was that on purpose?
Just for while we open the food, it'll just be a second. Um. Okay, so this was not supposed to be a break, but I've had two people drop off. So Marichina, I guess in the meantime, I will talk to you about this.
Nobody call quorum.
And that's my and Rem's conflict was not with the motion on that you voted no on. It was with the motion beforehand. The long one. If you want a revote on that, we can do so, but
It was
me
the
and Rem,
director one, right? For the honor area?
no. It was part of that big one for sure, but not that.
It was on removal from office of officer in the bylaws.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Can we do
You
a
wanna-
revote on that one?
Sure. We'll have to find a chair who's not an officer. I've got Rory who's interested. Is anyone else interested in chairing? Okay, I'm going to hold a vote on chair. All those in favor of,
Wait, do we even have quorum?
yeah, we do actually. I believe we
One,
do.
two.
No, wait, it's
You have six, Joe.
six, so we're missing one. All
Yeah.
right,
Can we
So,
recess
yeah.
it now? Hit forum?
we'll take a recess until we hit quorum, I guess. Yeah, Iman.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
sure.
it looks like you guys are taking a break already.
Well, no, we were going to eat as we had done in the past. We're going to eat as we do the rest of the work. But we'll take a short
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. We'll leave that real for others. Okay, so we are going to go back for a revote on motion 5 points. I gotta get it out. 5.1. Oh my God, excuse me. And so we're going to need to appoint a chair. Rory had offered to be chair. Trying to ask, is anyone else interested in being chair of this? No, that makes things easy. We need a 2/3 to appoint a chair, I believe. Is that correct? So I'm looking to appoint Rory to chair 5.1. All those in favor of appointing Rory as chair for 5.1? Oh, I don't know. Can I vote on this? I assume.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. That makes life easy. Okay, it passes. Rory, would you like to take over?
Much. Oh, it makes me reminisce about back in the day, back when, you know,
Good old days.
good old days, yeah. That sounds good. So item 5.1, I think we've had most of the discussion already. Already has a mover and seconder, so we're gonna go right to the vote. So all those in favor of the motion as presented, please raise your hand. And fourth,
I was gonna ask, is this considered perceived or is this full conflict and we can't vote?
this is perceived conflict in my chair discretion. So the officers may vote on this as well. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, I think that's unanimous. So we'll take that as all in favor.
Right.
And I will now humbly resign my chairship if that's allowed. And
Yay! Thank you for letting me back. I appreciate it, guys. Now with that being said, we are moving on. I think we're good to move on to 5.3, which is the Audit and Finance Committee restructure. I'm afraid my seconder could not make it today. I am looking for a different seconder for oh, Rem, thank you so much. I now have a seconder for the motion. I'll kind of explain what this is about. Essentially, this has been a committee that I've been talking about and working on for what, like 4 or 5 months, having a lot of discussions around what this like what the goals are here. But essentially, what this would do would be create a audit and finance committee. You may catch me sometimes calling it finance committee. I am referring to the audit and finance committee. A few things that should be noted about this committee. As we all know, there is already an audit committee. What this would do is it would maintain that audit committee for this governing year and this governing year alone. Essentially, we'd be, you'll see that essentially the audit committee turns into an ad hoc committee. That is one of the be it resolved. And so the audit committee will continue its regular functions for this year. What it will also do, though, is for next year, create the audit and finance committee would take on those audit responsibilities. One final thing to note is that the non-audit section of the audit and finance committee, which are outlined as risk management and financial health, that section will take effect immediately for this governing year. The composition of that committee, and I believe I put this in here. No, I didn't. So I'll have to amend my own motion. The composition of this committee was intended to be the same composition as the audit committee, but only the directors, not the at-large seat. I mean the apologies, not the
at-large people. Yes.
Yeah, I forgot that's what we call them. I was going to say non-elected, the at-large members. That is because if we are talking about a committee that seriously tries to understand our finances and really goes into like the processes around like ESG and stuff like that, and to have a true, honest conversation, it would be it's something I'll talk about after I'm done moving. Sorry, I got a comment from Mike. It would essentially I've distracted myself. Yes, we want it to be able to talk confidentially and seriously confidentially confidentially, and the board of directors do have a fiduciary duty, so they are the best set out for that. So this kind of creates a more confidential conversation, so we can seriously discuss and have oversight over the corporation's finances. I have obviously been talking about this for a while, so I don't know if there's anything I've missed in these conversations. I will say I have gotten a comment that it might be worth passing the chair to Rem if you are interested in sharing this section.
I mean, I also seconded it.
You did second it, but you didn't write it, which is less.
Right. Can I take it on consent to assume the chair?
Resigning the chairship, so I guess it goes straight to you.
Oh, well, yeah. All right, any discussion on this motion? I guess Damien's already talked about it. Samir?
Few questions, and I'll just say them all at once. They're all kind of short. Would the future with termly budget actuals now go here instead of board? I noticed the auditor is no longer part of the terms of reference. They were part of the terms of reference for the audit committees. Is there a certain reason or not? And then I noticed we defined our staff support roles pretty tightly in here, and we didn't in all of our other terms of reference. Is there a reason for that?
Apologies, can I hear that last section?
Sure. We defined our staff support roles pretty deeply in here, and we haven't in all of our other terms of reference.
Yes.
Wondering why.
Okay, so on the first section, on the budget to actuals, we've talked about this before. Like we've had that conversation. Essentially, the kind of understanding of the practice would be that budget to actuals would still be kind of included in the what's it called? The ED reports to board, but discussion would essentially be if there were any questions or stuff, the suggestion would be come to the finance and audit committee. Essentially, the reason why we want to do it this way is because as things currently stand, board does not really engage with those questions because they have a lot of kind of higher level conversations, and it probably makes sense for the elected students to have some real oversight and conversation around those things. So even though the options are already existing for oversight, it's not probably taken to the level that we'd like it to be. So that's why. Oh, second one was auditor. I don't remember explicitly removing it. I do believe that we do have a section on the audit to regularly scrutinize with assistance from the external auditors, the corporation's system of internal controls, compliance procedures, and financial reporting processes. A lot of the review the annual audit as prepared by the external auditors. All of this stuff, like in essence, overviews what we'd expect an audit committee to do. Yeah, and I will say I've talked with both Andrew and Rory, the chair and vice chair of the audit committee, about this relatively extensively, at least pretty early on as well. And not to speak for them, but I'll speak for Andrew. I think there's support for this on that front, and that it's going to cover that.
Support staff side?
Support staff side, yes. Actually, would you like to talk about it?
So it's just provide clarity on what's the support staff is doing, and it's something we would like to implement in other terms of reference for other committees, so that there's clarity on who's doing what and how staff will be supporting the committees.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it is a new way we're doing things. After some conversations with Esther, it feels like it makes sense. And it also adds like an extra level of clarity. So yeah. Not sharing.
Any other debate? Crazy. We will move ahead to a vote then. All those in favor of motion 5.3?
There's that.
Sure.
Didn't include the people. I don't know if you want to do that or not, make that amendment.
Nice, thank you.
Hey, Rory, thank you so much. I would like to amend my own motion. It would be it, okay, let me just write this down, my friends. Be it further resolved that the composition
Oh, Matt left again.
That's correct.
Don't say these things.
Okay.
We're getting inching ever closer to the Q word.
Yeah. Be it further resolved that the composition of the Audit and Finance Committee for the 2025-26 governing year be composed of the director membership of the current Audit Committee. Is it going to be about, I should specify board of directors?
Chair and vice chair.
So would that be considered like implicit? Yeah,
Double checking.
I appreciate it. I do appreciate it.
Marcini? Wait, did we get a seconder?
No. Can I get a seconder for that?
Samir.
I gotta stop sharing.
Awesome. Okay, Marcini?
Sorry, I thought we were voting. My bad.
Oh, okay. All right. We will now vote on the amendment about the membership. All those in favor of the amendment? All those opposed?
I don't know what that vote was.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let's do that again. All those in favor? All right. Hands down, everybody. Okay. All those opposed? Pretty sure that was everyone, right? Yeah, all right. Amendment passes unanimously. We'll now, is there any further debate on the motion as a whole? We'll now move to a vote on the motion as amended. All those in favor?
Didn't get to. I've heard this a prosperous.
All right, motion passes unanimously.
Brain froze there.
Yay. Do I take it again?
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. Thank you guys. We'll go on to general reports. I don't, is there an ED report? I was told there might not be an ED report this time.
Probably, I have a couple of things to potentially.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sue. Yes, that.
Just to note to board that, actually forget that that's going in confidential. It's all going in confidential. We're good.
Yeah, that section, yeah. Let's do that.
Not scary at all.
We'll move on to the president's reports, of which I only have a couple of things to talk about and an update on one that did not go the way we would have liked at all. Excuse me more. I had the hiccup. First one was that we kind of signed on to a initiative called Healthy Waterloo. It's in very early stages right now, but it's part of it's essentially an initiative to try and make Waterloo one of the healthiest, one of the healthiest campuses. You might say, well, what does that mean? Well, that's part of why we are in early stages. And so we're really kind of digging in and like working collaboratively. This is a pretty nice initiative because it seems like every aspect of the university, they're all working together for kind of a common goal on this. And so it's one that I'm happy that we can work with everyone on. The other section was on delegations to regional council. As some of you might know, the region is currently in its budget session, and part of its budget included cuts to 4 routes that are not just 4 routes, but these 4 routes are the ones that Waterloo students in particular would use. Those routes are Route 9, 13, 19, and 30. And so they were cutting these essentially from, I wrote 15, but it's from every 20 to every 30 minutes. And so especially for the 19, which does kind of like, what would you interlining in some sections of the 19, it would be even longer than a 30-minute wait because the 19 is split into 2. And if you're not in the combined path, it gets even longer. So these are pretty heavy cuts for those who use these lines. I should note as well that this came after the region passed a business plan, a GRT business plan that talked about increasing frequency of their routes, a frequent bus network, a highway bus network, essentially much more expensive bus network. And obviously due to the fact that, we have the UPass agreement and our students rely heavily on transit, we turned up to kind of talk about that disparity between what the region had promised that they'd work on, which is improving and expanding on transit, and the realities of the budget that they had proposed. There was a vote, I believe today, this morning on a motion that was brought forward by Dorothy McCabe, the mayor of Waterloo, on preserving the routes, specifically 913 and 9.
The title of her motion said 913 and
Did the specific also?
the specifics said 30.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Titles.
Doesn't.
So on preserving these routes, and I'm afraid it was a dead tie. And in cases of a dead tie, the motion fails, which means that the cuts are sustained. This is obviously extremely disappointing, and it goes against everything that the region has promised. And so we will continue to have conversations with them to figure out what this means for us going forward, and how this happens, essentially. Yeah, I guess that's my public report. Any questions? That's awesome. All right, we will move on to the public VP report.
Hey, so I did miss the last board meeting because I was in the provincial advocacy week. So I guess I'll kind of give my updates for the past month and a half, basically. The big things are I was in Ottawa and Toronto for the federal and provincial advocacy weeks. Met with lots of MPs and MPPs. I will remark that CASA was very impressive with the training that they provided us and the general preparation for meetings. I got to have stuff in the document about more detailed responses on some of the asks that were brought there. Provincial Advocacy Week was also a good opportunity to meet many other student advocates from across the province, WUSA, OSV, and CSA. So our University Undergraduate Student Alliance and 2 alliances for college students, we all held our ABBA week the same week. So it was nice to talk to everyone, and it was a good opportunity to also have a lot of conversations about Bill 33 and have those conversations beyond the usual circles that we make our advocacy decisions in. Other WUSA news, they are currently hiring for a new executive director and manager of operations. In terms of policy writing, I was switched over to the Gen AI policy paper, which I think Waterloo is very uniquely positioned to write good policy about. I'm pretty excited about that. And applications for winter GA delegates are now open, and I have in fact already received 1 application today. So shout out to the very eager student there. And I am working through a policy proposal for Bill 33 right now that can be really widely applied to some associations of various sizes and types. This came out of a lot of the conversations that we were having at ADVA Week. And I will be having further conversations about the details of that policy proposal with WUSA, OSV, and CSA. And we have also been discussing next steps in our marketing plan with both WUSA comms people and WUSA. Very fun times.
Fantastic.
Lots happening.
Okay. Any questions? Comments? Okay. Next that I have here, is director reports. I do this reminder every time. Director reports are not for bragging. They are for talking about anything that you think is relevant to the board as a whole, or questions about people's public reports. Anything of that nature that I should be expecting. Okay. I guess not. Okay, so we will move on into confidential session. I will be looking for a mover for confidential. Someone to move it. Oh, Rory, seconded. I don't know if we need a seconder, but I give it to Katie. Any opposed to moving into confidential? No. Okay,
Bye-bye, turnkey.
bye, turnkey.
When did we get a second mic?
Before we go.
It was broken for like a month.
Yeah. We got it like last meeting.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm just going insane.
Okay, perfect. We're now out of confidential. A quick review of what happened in confidential. There's one specific, I think we only passed one motion, excuse me. And that was to approve the topic of library and study spaces for the January roundtable. And the topic of second, let me get the exact wording now. EdTech course evaluations and degree and course planning for the February roundtable. The results of the vote were all in favor except for one abstention, that being Mohammed Kanji. And that was the only vote that we had. And with that being all said and done, at 9:08 p.m., we are calling it quits. The meeting was adjourned. Thank you.
Good night, Nosh.
I'm so sorry this meeting went longer.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Have a wonderful
Happy
holiday,
holidays,
folks.
everyone.
Sorry, I couldn't be
Happy
here the whole time.
holidays.
Have a lovely Christmas break.
Bye, folks.
Bye.
See you in January.
See you.
Sandra.
Is now